So let's have a look then at why there was conflict between England and Spain. You're probably wondering why I'm sitting down doing these podcasts, and two reasons really. One, I thought it'd give you a different look at things, and also secondly, I've got a really bad back at the minute, so I thought if I did them sitting down then it would be easier than trying to stand up all the time. Okay, so in terms of this then, why was there conflict between England and Spain? So, the king of... I'm going to start this again. Right, starting again. Right, this is a podcast on why was there conflict between England and Spain. Well, a lot of this is caught up with the religion that you've heard on other podcasts previously, but there's also a lot of things that you need to be able to understand in terms of this, because there was a big backdrop to why there was problems between England and Spain for a number of years really. So here goes. Spain had expanded their power with new colonies, and we obviously didn't like that because we wanted to be, more powerful than they were, and the God's honest truth of it was we weren't more powerful than them at this period. Also, King Philip II of Spain had been married to Mary I, who was the half-sister of Elizabeth I, and he treated her very, very poorly. And also, he had not been popular whatsoever with the people in England when he'd married her, because basically he'd seen her occasionally, then gone back home to Spain for 6 months, and he treated her dreadfully. As Mary lay dying, he issued a marriage proposal to Elizabeth, which obviously, wasn't great, but he did do that because obviously it's not that he was in love with Elizabeth or anything, he just wanted to stay King of England. But she kept him waiting, obviously pretending that she might marry him when she didn't really have any intention in doing that. So she kept him waiting for a number of years until she'd established herself, and then obviously she just completely and utterly, sort of ignored the proposal, said she just saw him as a brother. And in terms of this, she tried to keep this going, this facade that maybe she might marry him, because she wanted to try and keep peace between England and Spain. Because in those days, England obviously was beneath Spain in terms of being the most powerful country in the world, so she knew that she couldn't afford to offend him. Another major issue obviously was Spain was Catholic and Elizabeth I was Protestant and trying to rule a Protestant country. So that was a major issue between the countries as well. Now, when I was at school, I always used to struggle with the Spanish Netherlands. I could never quite understand how the Spanish Netherlands worked, didn't really understand it. So what happened was this then. King Philip II ruled Spain, but also he ruled the Netherlands, okay? So what I'm trying to say in terms of that is he'd taken the Netherlands as a colony, okay? So the Netherlands is just like Holland that we would know it as today. So in August 1566, there was a Protestant uprising in the Netherlands, and the Protestants basically ruined some of the, Catholic icons, so the crucifixes, the statues of the Virgin Mary and things like that, and some riots followed. And the reason for this is half of the people in Spanish Netherlands were Catholic, but obviously the other half of them actually were Protestant, and they didn't really want to be under King Philip II's rule. So Philip II sent Spanish soldiers in to restore order when this took place in 1566. Now Elizabeth sent money to the Protestants and allowed English volunteers to go and help. So she didn't send in an army, just if any English volunteers wanted to go over and help the Protestants in the Netherlands, she didn't stop them from doing that. And she also, as well, granted protection to any rebel ships or any Protestant ships in the Netherlands that wanted to stay in her English ports. She was happy for that to happen. So obviously that's not going to go down great, is it, with, King Philip II of Spain, because she's almost showing that she's supporting the Protestants here in the Netherlands, where he obviously wants the whole of the Netherlands to be Catholic. So anyway, what happened is the trade with the Dutch was affected because of Elizabeth's actions, because obviously some of the Netherlands, refused to trade with England because of what she'd done in supporting the Protestants. So Philip II sent a powerful army led by the Duke of Alva to try and sort this out. And he wanted to crush the rebellion completely by the Protestants. But things got even worse, because unfortunately in the Spanish Netherlands there was a man called William of Orange, and he was the Protestant leader for the obviously the rebels, the Protestant rebel leader. So unfortunately a Catholic assassinated him. So this time Elizabeth was furious at this. So she actually sent troops in, and her old favourite Robert Dudley went in with the troops, and what he was trying to do was obviously follow the exact orders of Elizabeth. So she sent Robert Dudley in with 7,000 soldiers, and it was a clear act of war really against Spain. Once you send troops in, armed troops, to another country that's actually ruled by another one, was a clear act of war. So tensions had really started to come to a head, and this, happened to be in 1584 this time. So we're only 4 years away now from the Spanish Armada. So King Philip II of Spain is now thinking, I do want to really attack England, but he sort of needs an excuse to be able to do that. And we'll look at that as I go through this podcast. So why was the conflict between England and Spain then? Let's just sort of summarise this first of all. The English were Protestants, obviously, and the Spanish were Catholics. That's a key one. The Pope called for all Catholics to disobey Elizabeth when he excommunicated her, so that's another reason that she comes into conflict with Spain. And Philip II had been married to Elizabeth's half-sister, and then she wouldn't marry him. So that caused tensions as well. So Francis Drake and other sailors had spent years raiding Spanish ports and ships, so obviously that hadn't gone down very well. And Elizabeth sent soldiers to help Protestants in the Netherlands, okay? So in terms of that, there was lots of things that were causing problems. And as you'll see in another podcast, a major reason for the tensions ended up being when Elizabeth I had Mary Queen of Scots executed, who of course was a Catholic queen.